The alien palace stood silent under the red skies of Valara. The people of this world, tall beings with pale silver skin and glowing eyes, gathered in fear outside their emperor's chamber. Inside, healers whispered in panic, their hands shaking, as they carried bowls of shining liquid and strange crystals. The emperor, once strong and mighty, now lay weak on his bed, his breath shallow, his face pale. No medicine of their kind was working. For centuries, the Valarans had believed their ways were perfect. They looked at other species as primitive, especially humans. To them, human medicine was crude, bloody, and full of pain, cutting flesh to heal, forcing bitter chemicals down the throat. Barbaric, they always said. And yet, here they were standing helpless, watching their great ruler fade away. The emperor's eldest daughter, Princess Soraya, clenched her fists. Her voice trembled as she faced the circle of alien healers. "You promised me he would live. You said the crystals would restore his blood." One healer bowed deeply, his voice full of fear. "Princess, we have tried every method. The disease is beyond our knowledge. His life is slipping." The words hung heavy in the air. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. Then, from the far corner of the chamber, a deep voice broke the stillness. It was Admiral Thrax, a warrior known for his sharp mind and bold decisions. "There is one chance left," he said slowly. "But it is dangerous." The healers turned sharply, their eyes flashing with anger. "You dare speak of such things? You mean the humans?" One of them spat. Soraya's head snapped toward the Admiral. "Humans," she whispered. Admiral Thrax nodded. Yes, the humans. On the outer colony, I have read their records. Their methods are unpleasant. But they have faced diseases like this before. They may have answers we do not." Gasps filled the room. The healers hissed in disgust. "Never. They cut open bodies like savages. They poison the blood with metal needles. They burn the skin. To heal it, we cannot allow such creatures near our emperor." But Soraya's eyes burned with desperation. She looked at her father's weak body, then back at the Admiral. "If their way is barbaric, then let their barbarism save him." The healers shouted in protest, their voices clashing like thunder. "Princess, this is madness. If you allow this, history will curse your name." The emperor himself would never. Her voice rose, stronger than all of them. "The emperor is dying, and you have failed him. If the humans are our only hope, then I will bring them here. I will not let my father die because of your pride." The chamber fell silent again. No one dared argue further. The emperor's faint breathing was the only sound. Outside the palace, the decision spread like fire. Ordinary Valarans whispered. In fear, some said the princess had lost her mind. Others prayed the humans truly had miracles hidden in their brutal science, far away. In the human colony orbiting a small moon, a message arrived. Dr. Aaron Keller, a young physician from Earth. Read the urgent call on his communicator. His eyes widened as he saw the seal of the Valoran Empire. They want human medicine. For their emperor. He whispered. Aaron knew the Valorans hated humans. He had lived under their shadow for years. Always treated like an animal. Always. Mocked for being from a blood-soaked race. And now, suddenly, they wanted his help. His colleagues stared at him in disbelief. "You're not really going, are you?" one of them asked. "They don't respect us. They'll use you until it suits them and then throw you away." Aaron hesitated. He remembered the insults, the sneers, the way alien officials had called him a savage when he tried to set up a human clinic. But he also thought of his oath as a doctor, the promise he had made back on Earth, to save lives. No matter whose. He looked at his trembling hands, then clenched them into fists. If an emperor's life depends on it, he said softly. "Then I will go." That night, a human transport ship rose into the stars, carrying Aaron toward the glittering alien palace. The journey felt heavy, like stepping into the jaws of danger. He did not know if he was walking into honor or betrayal. But one thing was certain, this would not be an ordinary patient. And somewhere deep inside, he felt it. The fate of two worlds was about to change. The human transport ship glided silently through the red skies of Valara before landing near the Great Palace. A crowd had already gathered, thousands of silver-skinned Valarans, their glowing eyes filled with suspicion and disgust. They whispered as Dr. Aaron Keller stepped out, his simple human medical bag in his hand. "Look at him," one alien muttered. "A barbarian with knives." Another spat on the ground. "If he touches the Emperor, it will be the end of us all." Aaron felt the weight of every stare. The air was thick with hatred, yet he stood tall. He wasn't here for their approval. He was here for the man lying on that bed, gasping for breath. A group of armored guards surrounded him, their spears humming with energy. One of them sneered, "Follow, do not speak unless spoken to. If you try anything, you will not leave alive." Aaron gave a small nod. "I understand." The long walk to the palace felt endless. The marble halls glowed with alien crystals, their beauty hiding the tension in the air. At the gates of the Emperor's chamber, the princess herself stood waiting. Her face was pale from exhaustion, but her eyes held fire. "You are the human doctor?" she asked, her voice sharp. Aaron bowed slightly. "Yes, I am Dr. Keller. Take me to him." The healers inside hissed when they saw him. One of them shouted, "Princess, this is folly. He will only desecrate the Emperor's body with his crude methods." Soraya raised her hand, silencing them. "You have failed. Let the human try." The Emperor lay motionless on the great bed, his chest rising weakly. His skin glowed faintly, a sign of life slipping away. Aaron set down his bag and knelt beside him, his heart pounding. He pulled out a stethoscope, placing it gently on the Emperor's chest. The healers gasped in horror. He put strange metal on His Majesty's body. One shouted, another growled. "This is torture disguised as care." But Aaron ignored them. He listened carefully. The heartbeat was weak, irregular. He checked the Emperor's eyes, his pulse, his breathing. It was clear the Emperor was dying of a massive infection, spreading fast through his blood. Aaron looked up at the princess. "He needs antibiotics, strong ones. His body is fighting something it cannot defeat alone." The room erupted in anger. "Antibiotics? Poison? He means to kill him." "Your Highness, stop this madness before it is too late." Soraya stepped forward. Her voice was sharp and cold. "Be silent. If this human can save him, then let him do what you could not." Aaron reached into his bag and pulled out a vial and syringe. The moment the needle appeared, the aliens recoiled in horror. A sharp stick filled with liquid. One healer shouted, "This is barbarism at its peak." Another covered his face. They stabbed the body to heal at madness. Aaron met their fearful stares. His voice was calm but firm. "You call it barbaric, I call it saving a life. If I don't give this to him now, your Emperor will be dead within the day." The princess's eyes flickered with fear, then resolve. She stepped closer, her voice steady. "Do it." The guards stiffened. The healers shouted in protest. But no one dared challenge the princess. Aaron carefully prepared the injection. His hands moved with the calm precision of years of training, though inside his chest, his heart was racing. He cleaned the Emperor's arm, then gently slid the needle into his vein. The gasp that followed was almost deafening. Aliens clutched their chests as if they had been stabbed. A healer fell to his knees, whispering, "Savage. Savage." But Soraya leaned forward, her eyes locked on her father's face. "Will it work?" she whispered. Aaron took a deep breath. "It will take time. His body must fight with the medicine. But if it works, you will see the first signs soon." The room was tense. Hours passed. The healers glared at Aaron as he checked the Emperor's vitals again and again. Every time he touched the ruler, they winced as though watching a crime. Finally, near dawn, the Emperor stirred. His breathing grew stronger, his pulse steadier. A soft color returned to his pale skin. The princess gasped, tears filling her eyes. "Father," Attila stared in silence. Their emperor, who had been slipping toward death, now breathed more easily. It was undeniable. The barbarian's poison was saving him. One healer collapsed to the floor, whispering, "Impossible." Another growled under his breath, "This? Human? How?" Aaron didn't celebrate. He only adjusted the dosage, checked the Emperor's temperature, and spoke quietly. "He is not safe yet, but he is fighting again. If I stay and continue treatment, he will live." Soraya looked at him with something new in her eyes. "Respect, then you will stay. And you will have my protection." The healers exchanged dark glances. For the first time in history, their proud knowledge had failed. And a human's so-called barbarism had succeeded. But as the first rays of morning lit the palace, Aaron knew this was only the beginning. The Emperor's life was not the only thing at stake, because in the shadows, enemies whispered. And not all of them wanted the Emperor to survive. The morning light filled the palace with golden fire, but peace did not follow. Whispers ran through every corridor, through every market in the capital. News spread fast. The human doctor had touched the Emperor, and the Emperor still breathed. Some called it a miracle. Others called it blasphemy. Inside the healing chamber, Aaron Keller worked quietly. He checked the Emperor's breathing, changed the bandages, and gave another careful dose of antibiotics. His hands moved with calm skill, but his eyes never relaxed. He could feel the stares burning into his back. The alien healers stood in the shadows, watching him like predators waiting for a mistake. Princess Soraya never left her father's side. Her eyes followed Aaron's every movement, half with trust, half with fear. She wanted to believe, but centuries of belief told her that human ways were savage. Still, the slow rhythm of her father's stronger breaths was proof she could not ignore. At last, she whispered, "Doctor, will he truly live?" Aaron placed the stethoscope on the Emperor's chest again and listened. The heartbeat was steadier, stronger. He looked at her and nodded. "Yes, if we continue treatment, he has a real chance, but he must rest. And no, one must disturb him." The words were simple, but they carried weight. Because beyond the chamber doors, enemies were already moving. In the council hall, the healers met in secret. Their leader, Master Yaros, slammed his fist against the crystal table. His voice shook with rage. "This is an insult to our ways. A human outsider uses knives and poisons on our emperor, and the princess allows it. If the people believe this barbarian saved him, our traditions will be shattered. Our authority will die." Another healer hissed, "Then the human must fail. If he continues, he will change everything. The princess will side with him, the people will follow her, and we will be cast aside." The room fell silent. All of them knew what that meant. One of the healers leaned forward, his voice low and cold. "Then the human cannot be allowed to succeed. If his medicine works, we will make it fail." A dark nods circled the hall. Back in the chamber, Aaron finally sat down after hours of work. His back ached, his hands trembled slightly, but he would not stop. He remembered the words of his professors back on Earth. Medicine is not only science, it is war against death. You must never surrender. The princess noticed his exhaustion. You have not eaten since you arrived. Aaron shook his head. I can eat later. Right now, your father needs every moment of care. She studied him, her eyes softening. Why do you do this? Why risk your life for a ruler who has never cared for your kind? Aaron paused. He looked at the emperor's weak but steady form, then back at her. Because life is life. It does not matter if it is human or Valoran. If I can save it, I must. Her gaze lingered on him. Something inside her shifted a seed of respect, perhaps even admiration. But outside the chamber, shadows moved. A servant entered quietly, carrying a tray of food and water. He bowed low, placing it near Aaron's chair. Aaron gave a tired smile of thanks, not noticing the healer's seal on the servant's wrist. Hours passed. The emperor's breathing grew stronger. Soraya's hope grew brighter. Then suddenly Aaron noticed something strange. The emperor's skin turned pale again, his pulse weakening. No, Aaron whispered, rushing to his side. He checked the forebag he had set up. The fluid looked different, clouded, darker. His eyes widened in horror. This is wrong, he muttered. This is not what I prepared. Soraya stepped closer, panic flashing in her eyes. What is it? Someone tampered with the medicine, Aaron said, his voice low but sharp. They are trying to poison him. The princess's blood ran cold. She looked toward the door, where the guard stood, unaware. Who would dare? Aaron cut her off. The healers, they fear losing their power. They will do anything, too. Make me fail. Rage burned in Soraya's eyes. She drew her blade, the thin silver sword of her family. Her voice shook with fury. If they try again, I will cut them down myself. Aaron quickly replaced the poison fluid with his backup supply. He checked the emperor's pulse again, praying it wasn't too late. Slowly, the rhythm returned, weak but steady. He sighed in relief. He is still fighting. But they will not stop. Princess, if you truly want your father to live, you must protect me as much as him. Because next time, they may not attack the medicine. They may attack me. Her eyes locked with his. Then, from this moment, you are under my protection. Anyone who dares touch you will answer to me. And yet, as she spoke those words, the chamber doors creaked open. Standing there was Master Yaros himself, his eyes cold as winter. He stepped forward, his voice heavy with authority. Enough of this human nonsense, he said. Princess, step aside. The emperor must receive proper care before it is too late. Aaron rose slowly, standing between the healer and the emperor. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the room. You call me barbaric, but I am the only reason he still breathes. Touch him now, and you will kill him. The air grew sharp. With tension, guards shifted uneasily. The princess stepped forward, her sword gleaming. No one touches my father except the human doctor, she declared. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Yaros's eyes burned with hatred, but he did not move. Instead, he leaned close, his voice low enough that only Aaron could hear. You will not save him, human. Even if you heal his body, you will not escape this palace alive. Then he turned and left his robes sweeping the floor. Aaron stood still, his jaw tight. He had expected resistance, but now he knew the fight to save the emperor was no longer only against disease. It was against an entire order of men who would rather see their ruler die than let a human succeed. And somewhere deep inside, Aaron understood if he failed, humanity itself would forever be branded as worthless savages. The palace had turned into a place of shadows. By day, the halls shone with crystal light, filled with whispers of hope that the emperor was improving. By night, the same halls carried whispers of murder. Servants moved nervously. Guards exchanged uneasy glances, and everywhere Aaron walked. He felt eyes on him, watching, judging, waiting. Inside the chamber, the Emperor's strength was slowly returning. His fever had lessened, his breathing was deeper, and the color in his skin was no longer deathly pale. Each small improvement gave Aaron confidence. But it also increased the fear of the healers who wanted him gone. Princess Soraya stayed close, rarely leaving her father's side. But she too felt the shift in the air. Something was coming. That night, Aaron sat beside the Emperor's bed, writing notes in a small, worn book. His hands trembled with exhaustion, but his mind stayed sharp. Suddenly, he heard a faint noise. Near the window a click, soft but deliberate. He turned just in time to see a shadow move across the glass. Then a sharp bolt of energy shot into the room, aimed straight at him. Aaron ducked instinctively, the beam searing past his head and striking the wall, leaving a black scar on the crystal. The guards burst into the chamber, swords drawn. Outside, the assassin vanished into the darkness. Soraya's sword flashed into her hand as she rushed to Aaron. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head, his chest heaving. "No, but that shot was meant for me. Or for your father." The guards searched the palace walls, but found nothing. The assassin was gone, leaving behind only fear. Aaron looked at Soraya, his voice heavy. "This is no longer about medicine. They want me dead. If they cannot poison the Emperor, they will try to remove the one keeping him alive." Her jaw tightened. "Then I will double the guard." "You will not be touched again." Aaron shook his head. "Princess, you cannot guard against whispers in the dark. If the healers truly command this palace, your soldiers may already be theirs. You cannot fight shadows with swords." She stared at him, torn between anger and truth. The next day, the council gathered. The chamber was crowded with nobles, generals, and healers. Master Yaros stood tall in the center, his voice rising with venom. This madness must end. The Emperor may appear stronger, but do not be fooled. The human uses tricks. He poisons our Emperor with foreign chemicals, stabbing him. With crude weapons, this is not healing, it is torture. Murmurs spread through the council. Some nodded, others looked uncertain. Princess Soraya rose, her voice sharp as steel. "If it is torture, then why does my father live? Why does his breath grow stronger with every day the human tends to him? You claim knowledge, yet you failed him." The human did not. Yaros's eyes narrowed. "You are blinded by desperation, princess. You would throw away our proud traditions for the lies of a savage." Soraya raised her chin. "I would throw away nothing. I would only save my father's life. Is that not what matters most?" But Yaros was ready. He raised his hand, and two guards stepped forward carrying a small crystal orb. Within it glowed a swirling light. "This is proof," Yaros declared. "The human's medicine weakens the spirit. This orb shows the Emperor's life force. Look, it flickers like a dying flame. If we allow him to continue, the Emperor will not be saved, he will be destroyed." The crowd gasped. Soraya's heart raced, but she saw Aaron standing calmly. At the edge of the room, he did not shout, did not argue. He simply stepped forward. "May I speak?" he asked, his voice steady. The room turned to him, disgust and suspicion clear in every gaze. Yaros sneered. "Shh, you have no place here." But Soraya spoke firmly. "He will speak." Aaron looked at the glowing orb, then at the crowd. "You see flickering light and call it proof. But I see a man whose fever has broken, whose breath grows stronger every day. The truth is, simply your Emperor is alive because of the medicine you despise." He reached into his bag and pulled out the stethoscope. "This tool lets me hear the heartbeat of your ruler. Would you like to hear it too?" The council shifted uneasily. Some looked curious, others horrified. Aaron held it out to Soraya. She hesitated, then placed it against her father's chest as Aaron guided her. Her eyes widened. The steady rhythm echoed in her ears. Tears filled her eyes. "I hear it." His heart, "It is strong." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. For the first time, the alien council was faced with proof they could not deny not glowing crystals. But the sound of life itself. Yaros's face twisted. With rage, lies, tricks. He deceives you. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. Several nobles whispered among themselves, their eyes shifting toward the princess and the human. Soraya lowered the stethoscope, her hand trembling. She looked at Yaros, her voice quiet but firm. "Enough. You will not interfere with my father's care again." The council ended in chaos, voices clashing, trust dividing. The empire was cracking, and all because of one human with a bag of medicine. That night, Aaron returned to the emperor's chamber, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. Soraya followed, her face troubled. "You risked much today," she said softly. "If you had angered them further, they might have killed you on the spot." Aaron gave a tired smile. "If your father lives, it is worth the risk." She looked at him for a long moment, her voice almost a whisper. "You are not like the men of my world. You fight death without fear. Perhaps you are not barbaric after all." Before Aaron could answer, a sudden cough broke the silence. The emperor stirred, his eyes fluttering open for the first time in days. "Soraya," he whispered weakly. The princess gasped, falling to her knees beside him. "Father, you are awake." Aaron stepped back, relief washing over him. The emperor was alive, aware, and stronger. But he knew this was only the beginning, because now the true war would begin not against disease, but against the hatred that refused to die. And somewhere deep in the palace, Master Yaros prepared his final move. The emperor's eyes opened fully for the first time in many days. His silver gaze, once dim with sickness, now flickered with life. The chamber froze. Guards, healers, and the princess all held their breath. "Father," Soraya whispered, tears streaming down her face. She grasped his hand gently. "You are awake. You live." The emperor's lips were dry, his voice weak but steady. "How long have I been gone from the world?" "Too long," Soraya said softly. The emperor's gaze drifted across the room till it fell on Aaron. For a moment, silence. His eyes narrowed. He saw the strange clothing, the medical bag, the foreign face. His voice, though weak, carried the weight of an emperor. "A human," he rasped. Aaron bowed his head slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty. I am Dr. Aaron Keller. I treated your illness." The healers immediately stepped forward, seizing the chance. Master Yaros's voice rang with venom. "My emperor, this human has desecrated you with his crude methods. He pierced your body with sharp metal and filled your veins with poison. We tried to stop him, but the princess, enough." Soraya's voice cut through the chamber like steel. She looked at her father desperately. "He saved you?" "You were dying, father. All their crystals and songs did nothing. It was the human's medicine that kept you alive." The emperor's brow furrowed as he studied his daughter. Then Aaron saved me. Aaron stepped forward carefully, his tone calm and respectful. "You were struck by a severe infection, spreading through your blood. Your body was failing. I gave you medicine antibiotics that destroyed the sickness. You are alive because of it." The emperor's hand trembled slightly as he looked down at his body. He could feel the strength slowly returning, the fever gone. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. But Yaros was not finished. He fell to his knees, his voice pleading. "My Emperor, this is trickery. His ways are barbaric. He has placed corruption inside you. You feel better now, but it is false. His poisons will destroy you in time. Let us cleanse your body before it is too late." The other healers echoed his cries, their voices rising in unison. "Cleanse him. Remove the human's poison." The chamber shook with their protests. The guards looked uneasy, torn between loyalty to the Emperor, the princess, and the Council of Healers. Soraya rose to her feet, her sword flashing in the dim light. Her voice thundered. "If any of you touch him, you will answer to me." The Emperor raised a hand weakly. The room fell silent. He looked between his daughter, the healers, and the human. Then, slowly, he spoke. "I have lived long enough to know pride when I see it. Healers, you could not save me. The human did. This barbaric method, as you call it, has given me breath again. I will not ignore that truth." Gasps filled the chamber. Soraya's heart swelled with relief, while Yaros's face twisted with fury. But Aaron saw something else in the Emperor's eyes: hesitation. The old ruler was not fully convinced yet. He was alive, yes, but doubt lingered. "Rest now, father," Soraya whispered, placing a hand on his chest. "You need strength." The Emperor closed his eyes again, exhausted, but his words hung in the air, unshakable. Later that evening, Aaron sat in a corner of the chamber, writing notes on the Emperor's progress. His body was weary, but his mind sharp. He knew the healers would not stop. Soraya approached him quietly. "You heard them. They will never forgive this. My father's words gave you protection for now, but Yaros will not stop until you are gone." Aaron nodded. "I know. Today it was poison. Last night it was an assassin. Tomorrow, who knows?" Her eyes darkened. "They are desperate men, and desperate men are dangerous." Aaron looked at her, his voice low. "Then, why do you still stand with me? You could have cast me out, and the healers would cheer. But instead, you risk everything." Soraya hesitated, then spoke with quiet fire. "Because I saw my father dying in front of me. I saw their pride let him slip away. And then I saw you fight for him, without fear, without reward. That is why I stand with you, human doctor. Not for you, but for the truth." Aaron said nothing, but deep inside, he felt a weight lift. For the first time, he wasn't standing alone in this alien palace, but in the council hall, Master Yaros plotted. His voice was cold, his words sharper than any blade. "The Emperor believes he is saved. The princess is blinded by her emotions, and the people whisper of miracles. If we allow this, our ways will die. The humans will rise, and we will be nothing." The other healers looked uneasy. "What do you suggest?" Yaros leaned forward, his eyes burning. "We end this before it spreads further. The Emperor is still weak. One wrong move, one missed breath, and he will not survive. We make sure the human fails, and when he does, we strike him down as a fraud." Dark nods followed. The plan was set. That night, as Aaron checked the Emperor's vitals, a strange heaviness filled the air. The torches burned lower, the shadows stretched longer. He couldn't explain it, but his instincts screamed danger. He turned to Soraya. "Keep your guard close tonight. Something is coming." She frowned, her hand gripping her sword. "What? Do you sense?" Aaron shook his head. "Not sickness. Something worse." And as if to answer his words, the chamber doors slammed open. A group of guards stormed in, weapons drawn. Their leader pointed at Aaron. "By order of the High Council," he barked. "The human is under arrest for treason against the Emperor." Soraya's blade was out in an instant, over my dead body. The Emperor stirred in his bed, too weak to rise, but his eyes wide with shock. Aaron stood frozen, his heart pounding. He knew what this was, not justice, not law. It was Yaros's trap. The Emperor's chamber was quiet. The machines hummed, and the sound of soft breathing filled the room. For the first time in many cycles, the Emperor's eyes opened slowly. His people had gathered outside, waiting for news. When the news spread that he was alive, the entire palace erupted in shock and relief. But in the middle of that joy, there was silence inside the council chamber. The leaders of the empire sat together, uneasy. The Emperor was alive, but he was alive because of human medicine. The thing they once called barbaric was now the reason their ruler still breathed. High Chancellor Varen sat at the long table, his hands shaking. He looked at the others and said, "Do you not see the danger? If the Emperor himself is healed by humans, then our people will lose respect for us. They will look to the humans for wisdom instead of us." Another council member shook his head. "But can we deny what we have seen? Their methods, they work. And they worked when ours failed." There was a long pause. The truth was heavy. The humans had saved the Emperor when the most advanced alien healers had failed completely. While the council argued, Dr. Carter was called into the Emperor's room again. The Emperor's eyes studied him, still weak, still recovering. His voice was low but clear. "You saved my life. Tell me, why?" Dr. Carter was silent for a moment, then said, "Because every life matters. Because pain and suffering should never be ignored, no matter where someone is from. You are not just an emperor to your people. You are a living being, and I could not stand by and watch you die." The Emperor's gaze softened. He had lived a long life, seen countless battles, ruled over billions, but he had never heard words like these. His own healers had cared for him because of duty. His people had worshipped him because of tradition. But this human, a stranger, had saved him because he valued life itself. Later, as the Emperor regained strength, he asked for the council to gather. His voice was weak but commanding. "Bring them all," he ordered. Asterisk. When the council assembled, the Emperor sat tall, though his body still ached. He looked at the men and women who had doubted, who had feared, who had mocked the humans. Then he spoke. "My life was not saved by your wisdom, nor by your advanced medicine. It was saved by the humans, the same humans you call primitive, the same methods you called barbaric. But in my darkest hour, their hands gave me life again." The council looked down in shame. None dared speak against him. The Emperor continued, his voice rising. "Perhaps their ways are simple. Perhaps they do not match our technology. But today, they proved something greater than technology. They proved compassion. They proved courage. And they proved that sometimes what we call weakness is true strength." Dr. Carter stood quietly in the back. He did not seek honor or glory, but he felt the weight of the Emperor's words. For the first time, the Empire saw humans not as lesser beings, but as equals, perhaps even as teachers. But not all were pleased. High Chancellor Varen's eyes burned with silent anger. To him, this moment was not honor, it was humiliation. He whispered to himself, "If the humans rise, we will fall." Outside the palace, the news spread quickly. An emperor had lived, and it was because of human medicine. Some alien citizens celebrated, curious about these strange healers from Earth. Others frowned, their pride wounded. The empire was divided. Dr. Carter could feel the tension in the air. This was not just about saving one man's life anymore. This was about two worlds colliding, one of cold pride and one of human determination. And he knew, deep inside, that this was only the beginning. The emperor rested, but his mind did not. As he lay in his chamber, he thought of Carter's words. "Every life matters." The phrase echoed in his thoughts. It was simple, but powerful, more powerful than all the speeches he had given in his lifetime. For the first time, the Emperor wondered. Perhaps the humans carried a strength that his empire had long forgotten, a strength that could change everything. The great hall of the alien empire was silent, the kind of silence that weighed heavy on every shoulder. The Emperor, once weak and dying, now sat upright on his throne. His eyes, clear and strong, swept. Across the council chamber, every noble, every general, every advisor sat in awe. They had seen with their own eyes what had saved him, the strange human medicine they once mocked. The Emperor lifted his hand, and the hall bowed into silence even deeper than before. "You all believed I would die," his voice carried like thunder, "because your ways had failed me. You believed the end of my reign had come. But these humans," he said the words slowly, almost with reverence, "chose to heal me when even you could not." The alien nobles shifted uncomfortably. For cycles upon cycles, they had laughed at human methods. To them, the mixing of herbs, the injections, the small pills seemed crude and barbaric. But now they could not deny the truth. Their most advanced healing machines had failed, while human knowledge had triumphed. At the side of the hall, Dr. Marcus stood quietly. He felt the weight of every eye on him, but he kept his gaze steady. He had not come to win glory, he had only come to save a life. Yet here he was, standing in the middle of history. One noble finally stood, his long robes dragging across the floor. His voice was filled with pride and bitterness. "Your Majesty," he said, "this is dangerous. If we accept these humans, if we bow to their methods, we risk admitting that our empire is not supreme. We risk weakness." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Weakness," he echoed. Was it weakness to live? Was it weakness to accept a cure that saved me from death itself? He rose from the throne, and his voice became sharper. "No. The only weakness I see is pride so deep it blinds you to truth." Whispers spread like fire. The old beliefs of superiority were breaking. The empire stood on the edge of something new. Dr. Marcus finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "We are not here to rule you," he said. "We do not seek to replace your knowledge. But life is precious. No world, no species, no empire has the right to let pride stand above it. Medicine is not about power. It is about survival, about compassion." The Emperor looked at him long and hard, and then nodded. "Well-spoken, human. You gave me back my life, and in doing so, you have given me a new vision for my empire." He turned to the council. "From this day, humanity shall no longer be mocked. They will be honored as healers, as allies. Their ways will be studied. Their medicine will join with ours, not as lesser knowledge, but as equal." Gasps filled the hall. This was not just a decision about one cure. This was the beginning of unity, of shared strength. But not all were pleased. In the shadows of the chamber, some whispered of rebellion. Some could not accept humans being lifted so high. Their pride, their fear, burned like hidden embers, waiting for a chance to strike. Still, the Emperor's decision was final. He stood tall, his voice ringing across the vast hall. "I was dead, yet now I live. Remember this, it was not machines, not power, not arrogance that saved me. It was a medicine born from human struggle, human pain, and human hope. That is strength." The humans bowed their heads slightly, humbled by his words. For Marcus, the moment felt larger than himself. He thought of Earth, of the long years humans had struggled with sickness, of the many who had died so that others could live. And now? That same hard-earned knowledge had reached the stars. The Emperor stepped down from the throne and placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You have shown us that even the smallest, simplest cure can change the fate of empires. You have reminded us that true power is not found in pride, but in mercy." The hall erupted in cheers, though some voices still held back. But Marcus knew the tide had shifted. Humanity was no longer the outsider mocked for crude methods. They were the species that had saved an emperor's life. As the sound filled the chamber, Marcus looked out over the sea of alien faces. He wondered what would come next. Would peace grow from this? Or would jealousy and fear still spark conflict? The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Humanity's place among the stars had changed forever, and all it took was the healing of one life.